What's up, everybody? It's Solon. Today we are here, and I know it doesn't look like it because it looks like General Victoria 3, but we're actually here to cover the initial release of Anbennar for Victoria 3, something I've been waiting for quite a while. Some of you might be familiar. A year or so ago, I made a big lore video for Anbennar for its upcoming CK3 release, so naturally I had to come in here and cover it. And although on the main screen there's nothing different, but if you go into New Game, and even though it doesn't have any graphics here, there are a few different options here that you can select that are related to Anbennar, like the Gnomish Hierarchy, or Laurent, or if you're familiar with these, or like Anbennar. So let's just read a couple of these and then we'll jump in here and look at the map, which looks quite really good. Let's do the Gnomish Hierarchy first. Numbers were always a Gnomish strong suit. As the Nimskad hierarchy reclaimed the Dragon Coast, they exploited the grim calculus of colonialism to rise to the forefront of artifice and innovation. Kobolds were shipped overseas to secure Gnomish supremacy, while calculated interventions advanced Auden's Bay interests. But the numbers are turning against them, as the gregarious kobolds confound Gnomish prejudice. New powers with larger workforces and bigger militaries begin to catch up to Gnomish industry, and yet from beyond the Kamoa a new disruptive factor emerges, the Mechanim. Can innovation save the hierarchy once more? And this is an interesting one because it sort of deals with, I think it's fun that it has like these colonialism parallels, like where this like great old power is now being challenged by rising new powers. It's sort of like very British, very Spain from this period. Let's do the hegemony. When the kingdom of Laurent's new queen looked upon her domains, she does so with pride, an unparalleled navy ruling the waves, an absolute monarchy still upholding Edain's cause. This sounds more like Spain. The greatest colonial empire in the world, cradling the ruined sea and dominating the Bay of Rahan, or Ridden, I guess. But pride is not enough. While the crucibles of the Northern League outpace Lancenor's economy, the ideals of the Black Powder Revolt threaten the very foundations of traditional rule. Will the rose wither, or will the Ruby Crown's guidance ensure it glistens forevermore? This is the one, if you're familiar with the CK3 one, where the mother, you can play as like the mother, and then you like play as her son. He's like a half-elf, one of the first half-elves. And then the Gnomish Hierarchy, they're sort of fractured in the CK3 one in the early game, so you have to like sort of rebuild them. This is the Northern League with Gwed, which is cool. Let's go to Egalitarian though, and then we'll read Anbennar, which is the island, and then probably a couple other places. Although, it might not be anymore because of this Black Powder Rebellion thing. Anbennar means unity, and Khmer, Silmuna, thought he finally secured it, and Silmuna are the descendants of the elves, or one of the elves that came over on the ship that was journeying for 1,000 years and then helped defeat the Sorcerer King, I think is what he was called. Consolidation and centralization, renewed religious tolerance, and a tight leash on novel artificery and political dissent alike. A new mage's peace. It didn't last long. The eruption of the Black Powder Rebellion, fueled by the Second Unraveling's ideals and the old regime's magocratic excesses, has given Anbennar another chance to fulfill its name. And yet, as nationalists question Anbennar's very foundations, the revolution's enemies gleefully await another chance to crush it. Will the dove rise ascendant or finally come crashing down? And let's click Anbennar because it's a good place to start. They're like sort of like the protagonists or one of them of this world. All right, so we are here on the map, and first of all, I want to show this off because it does have the new world, which is sort of like America, if I remember right, and then it has another continent. So it has all of the continents, or well, it's most of them except for this one that's unreleased. And if I remember right, this is the old world where the elves had to escape from, and a lot of this stuff is, I think it's destroyed or it's like messed up. Something's wrong with it. I cannot recall exactly. It doesn't look, I'm wondering why this wall is here. This is very interesting. I wonder if this is where that blast happened, which is why the elves had to leave in the first place. I think this is where their continent was, and then it exploded, and they had to go across the sea, and then they landed here on the Dame's Head and the Anbecost. So this would be, I believe, Dame's here. This should be us. Yeah, okay, so we are the Black Powder Anbennar. And I wonder what sort of decisions we get. So it looks like the Northern League, Laurent, and then us are the top ones. And there's a lot of different, which is really interesting, a lot of different like races in this that you get to play as. So like this is Laurent. This person is likely half elven, if I'm not mistaken. We should also be half elven if we look at ourselves in an overview sense, if I can remember where that is. Okay, so we have this guy who is our ruler and politician. We have a couple historical characters, look like gnomes. I don't know what our culture is for this guy specifically. It looks like he is actually just a human. Costine, which is, yeah, part of this. Interesting, yeah, he's a human. So he's not even half elven. That's interesting that he's not. It must have been, so it sounds like there was some sort of revolution and then the humans maybe took over because it used to be a half-elven kingdom. The Northern League is also generally human, if I'm not mistaken. They're Gwedi, and Gwedi are like sort of big, strong. Grombar would be orcs, so there's an orcish, the half-orcs up here. This is a very, if you're not familiar with the setting, it's like D&D-ish, so it was heavily inspired by D&D, and it sort of has like that going on in here. There's harpies in here, although it looks like the harpies don't necessarily have a model just yet. There should also be gnolls, which there are gnolls down here. So they're like sort of hyena people, which is really interesting. If you're a fan of the Sun Elves, which I'm a big fan of them, there's also dwarves. I have to show you these off first because I know you guys love dwarves. So we have the Garnet dwarves. There's a bunch of different kinds. There's like there should be another one over here. Oh, these are not dwarves. This is a goblin, an undergrowth goblin. Very nice. Should be one somewhere over here. The gold dwarf. Yep. So there's a couple different kinds of dwarves. There's like garnet. There's gold. I think there's like silver. There's a bunch of them. Over here, there would be mostly orcs and goblins because at a certain point in history, they come over. And they cause a lot of havoc after crossing the Serpent Spine Mountains, which I believe is this in this general area. So a lot of stuff going on with that. Obviously, we're going to read some of the objectives that some of these people have, but I'm just trying to show off the different races. So these are Sun Elves. They rule the Jad Empire. The Jad Empire has the Divine Herald as their head of faith, so it's like a religious state. This was founded by Jahir, who technically ascended to become a god, or like they think he did, but he was one of the people that were on one of the ships that came over here, and he ended up just conquering most of this stuff, and then founding his empire. He was assassinated, and I think his daughter ended up ruling, if I'm not mistaken. The lore, I forget a lot of it, but that's like the general gist as far as that goes. This is like forever ago, though. It's 1820, so we're in like an industrial revolution, literally, whereas I think that happened maybe like 800 years ago, so just as an example. Let's see what sort of activities we have. The race for the small country. Okay, we've got the Red Scare, so just basically general stuff here going on. I think we might want to switch to... kind of curious what happens if we switch to Laurent. Oh, we do have different... The time of the sword and sorcery has come to a close in its new place. Oh, okay. Interesting, okay. Let's go to Jedinzar, because I am curious to see if they have anything going on here. No active research. Their politics are... They have the Sun Temples and the Phoenix Legion, so it looks like they're mostly ruled by religion and then the sword. So they basically have like a military religious state, which just makes sense, because that would be what they'd have. The Facade Unraveling. Oh, what is this? Interesting. And we have spells in here too. Okay, so this is different. This is not normal. So they have mage shields, inscribed architecture, and modern miracles. Okay, so they have placeholders obviously on these, but that's interesting. So this also adds magic into Victoria 3, which is huge. And it looks like you can improve this, I would assume, with some sort of buildings. Let's just see here. Got a bunch of cultures, buildings. I'm kind of curious to see if there's like a... If there's one of the buildings in here would be able to improve upon our magic. I wonder how this is. Magical expertise, usage is higher than generation. From production methods. From laws and modifiers. Okay, so it's mostly law focused, like politics. I see. I see. Artifice band. Interesting. Oh, we could do national magic, which I would assume would improve our magic regeneration too. We're ranked 6 on the global scale, behind all of these ones. The Northern League seems to be the strongest one, which is interesting. We have a lot of buildings. Looks like we mostly rely on textiles. Not a lot of ports. Actually, looks like just one, which is kind of surprising. How is our military? A lot of regiments. 20 flotillas. Okay. It's, I think, a decent-sized military. Interesting. I want to see if any of these guys have, like, a unique thing they can do. Let's go to Grombar, just because I'm curious. Grombar has long loomed over the North, Orc and Human united under a staunchly Coronite militaristic monarchy, but with the Northern League recently inflicting a shocking defeat on Grombar's vaunted army, the fearsome image has been shaken. Also, I do want to look at the map real fast, so let's see how it looks. Oh, yes, it's lovely. I do think, well, that is unusual. I do think that Victoria 3 has a really lovely map, and I'm excited for All Under Heaven because it looks like it's utilizing some of the similar, stuff from that. Potential. It looks like there's not a lot of decision stuff yet. This is very early, remember, so this is like it has just released, so this is still very heavily under development, but we have a lot going on. It looks like we do have some spells that we can cast, but they don't really use any. And they're actually pretty positive on their magic. How is their military looking, though? Can support more declared interest. Artillery on the ground by market. Magic reagents. Oh, okay. Okay. Very interesting. Very cool. Very, very cool. And this is just, if you're somebody who likes Victoria 3, and you're really looking for, like, a fantasy-based mod, you would not find something better than this. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Anbennar is a very dedicated team, and they're going to be doing a lot to improve this as it goes on. Now, interestingly, so we read the intro for this. So this is like the Dragon Coast, and what's probably going on here, and I wonder if it's going to show up in the politics. So there's no agitators. There's no... I don't see anything talking about rising kobold problems, disappearing interests, unacceptable government. That's not good. It looks like philosophers are pretty okay. But it looks like we mostly support industry and then the rich, whereas, you know, the rural folk are very dissatisfied, as are the intelligentsia, which would be like the universities. Very likely it's because of their heavily, not authoritarian, but like monarchy, like individual, you know, like capitalistic society, like super hyper capitalistic. It's interesting that they do have these guys over here as part of their interest. And it sounds like they almost used the kobolds as like a, I mean, for lack of a better word, a slave force. So they do have the kobold culture in here, which is interesting. I wonder if there's no turmoil, which is kind of, I thought there would be, you know, maybe like between the two groups. That's very nice. It's very cool. Magical shamans. Shamanistic mages across Holland create magic through collective rituals, attunement to the elements, and sometimes, depending on the region, the innovation of spirits. In previous areas, the shamanism was usually confined to small communities and effects, but in the age of the nation-state, shamanism has scaled with incredible success. Interesting, so that obviously orcs have shamanism. I want to see what kind of stuff these guys got. So, though the Magister may be dead, its legacy is still with us. Mages from this tradition use the 8 schools of magic: abjuration, enchantment, evocation, divination, illusion, transmutation, conjuration, and necromancy. Interesting, so it sounds like... It looks to me like the big difference between this and like a normal, you know, like Victoria 3 mod is the magic system, which seems to be like playing into this industrial age. I think this is a fun setting. I think the only thing I can think of that really uses a setting like this would be like Arcanum of Steamworks and Magic, I think is how you say it. Or aesthetic. The 4 heiresses, or knowing, are the classification of magic most practiced in Bulwar, formal and legalistic. These knowings have been developing for thousands of years, ever since the age of the God Kings. They comprise of heiress, of the binding, controlling the will of the other beings; order, controlling the elements; light, protection, and divinity; and inscription, magic inspired by rune carving and wishes. Interesting. I think as far, like, if you're a big fan of Victoria 3, and I was trying to say this before, but I stopped, actually. Before I continue, I just want to see if there's anything above the map. I think this is just one of the other maps. I think if you're a big fan of fantasy and like this sort of industrial revolution period, it's not something that's covered a whole lot in like mods in general, or even like many games, you know. So it is cool. And then dwarves, of course, have rune carving, and it's like really interesting to be able to like play in a fantasy setting during an industrial revolution. It very much reminds me of like Arcanum, or even something like Discworld, if you guys are familiar with those. Like, obviously that's more of a comedy, but it does sort of have that thing going on. Or even like Joe Abercrombie, his First Law series, the later books sort of delve into the Industrial Revolution as well. Let's read rune carving. For dwarves, rune carving is a science guided by this Mithril Hand guy who channeled the magic of the earth into a form usable by mortals. For trolls and ogres, runecrafting is a boon taught to the giantkin by their titanic creators. For Vedacons, it is the art of sculpting the self as it imbued their own skin from magic. For all of them, runes allow the carving of magic into the material world. It has long acted as a form of artificery and often combines with industrial production to create incredible effects. I'm kind of curious. So what sort of stuff does a dwarf have, for example? Who is this guy? Runefather worship, an obsidian dwarf. Let's click them. I just want to see what they got going on. I love this dude's helmet. 31. So they are long-lived too. So actually, he's a really young leader. That's quite interesting. I would assume they have a lot more... Oh, Magic Reagents Lab. Okay. And then they're under this mountain, of course. I would assume they'd have more industry going on. Journal. Oh, a new nation formation. Interesting. Okay. Obsidian invasion of the Serpent Reach. Oh, so this is an objective that they can do. So they can invade this area if they control all of these areas, which is not really too much. It looks like it's just these tunnels they probably have to take over. And then you're sort of invading over to here. That's fun. What sort of spells do they have? It looks like it's all the same. Imbued armor. I don't know if this was the same or Veneration of Tradition was the same. I think they do change depending. Oh, potential spells. Okay. Interesting. Earthshaper Fortifications. That's really cool. Oh, I see. So you can change them. So then you can change it to Earthshaper Fortifications so that you have better defenses. That's really cool. I like this magic system a lot. That's super sick. The Rose Crown is the strongest confederation. The power block, I should say. The Jad Empire is one of them. He's obviously supposed to have a pipe, but that's cool. I'm really curious about these guys. The Kobolds. Very, very cool. They're Jingoist. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Yeah, what is the Jad? Does it talk about it at all? No. I would assume that in time you'll get a little bit more. Disinterested, they're neutral, reputable. Interesting, interesting. This is really, really cool. Look at the production lenses. The political. Diplomatic lens. Obsidian Legion versus... it looks like we're at a war with somebody. Yep. Our military lens. Interesting. Okay. Very cool. Well, this is neat. I really like this. I'm just going to go back to the regular map. But obviously, again, early days. The mod has just been released as of a couple days ago. But if you were looking forward to Anbennar for Victoria 3, I highly recommend you giving this a shot. Let them know what sort of things you want added. The map looks really good so far, and I think if you want like a fantasy mod for Victoria 3, you're going to be hard-pressed to find something better than this. But as far as I go, that's going to be it for me. Eventually, I would love to do a video for this, maybe in the future. I'm still learning how to play a couple other things at the moment because it's a very busy month for me. But hopefully, I'll be able to cover some more of this stuff in a little more detail. But I just wanted you guys to know this is out. It's available. Give it a shot and let me know what you think. But as always, I'm Sol, and I'll happily see you